Hi there and welcome to this Innover UK's training video. In this third lecture we're going to go into more detail about the structural steel product CE marking, and we are basically going to see what is actually required of you in practice to CE mark a structural steel product, and also kind of like we're going to take the opposite look and see what is required of you to manufacture a steel product that is going to be CE marked. We have decided to divide this training into three parts. In the first part, we're going to take a quick flashback into the previous lectures, and I just want to highlight a few things there that are really important in terms of the CE marking of structural steel products. And in the second part, we're going to go over the key standards and see what kind of requirements we have there. And in the second part, we're going to focus quite a lot into the type of the requirements we have in the EN 1092 and also the ISO 38343. So in the second part, we're going to talk about the requirements in general and see what kind of requirements we have. In the third part, we are going to talk about the actual requirements in terms of the manufacturing and in terms of the FPC system, factory production control system, and what kind of documentation requirements we have there and what kind of procedure requirements we have there. So in this third part, we are going to see how to manufacture a structural steel product that is going to be CE marked. But before we get started, I would just like to highlight a few things in this first part. And the first thing is that if a characteristic is deemed to be an essential, so in other words, it's listed in the Appendix CA of the Halmana standard, it can only be declared as part of the CE marking, or you are not allowed to declare it at all. What this means is that here we have the structural steel products essential characteristics as defined in the Halmana standard EN 1091 Appendix CA. So tolerances on dimensions and shape, weldability, fracture toughness, durability, reaction to fire, load-bearing capacity, deformation at serviceability limit state, fatigue strength, resistance to fire, release of cadmium, radioactivity, manufacturing. And if you remember, these are the characteristics that are related to the manufacturing, and these are the characteristics that are related to the structural design. So if you want to communicate to your customer that, for example, what kind of structural steel you have used in the manufacturing, then it can be only done through the CE marking. So if you are not going to declare weldability as part of the CE marking, you are not allowed to communicate in any way to your customer what kind of steel you use to manufacture the structural steel product. Or if you have done anything in terms of corrosion protection, if you have wet painted it or if you have done hot dip galvanizing, whatever, you can only do that in part through the CE marking. So if you want to communicate to your customer what you have done in terms of corrosion protection or what kind of steel you have used or what kind of reaction to fire it has or how you have manufactured it, it can be only done through the CE marking. And without going too much into detail why, we usually or actually always have recommended to all of our customers to declare to always declare the manufacturing characteristics, and if they have included the structural design in the FPC system scope, and if the customer requires, then they can decide to declare these structural design characteristics. But always the manufacturing characteristics, too much, and sometimes the structural design characteristics. And the other thing I would like to mention here in the beginning is that even though in most construction products the scope of the FPC system is dictated in the Halmana standard, and in this case it would be the section 6.3 of EN 1091. But this is not the case in the structural steel products, but in addition you also must include the EN 1092 in terms of actual manufacturing, and if you do welding, you also must include the EN ISO 38343 for the welding. And only this is considered to be the adequate proof to back up your CE marking. So adequate proof to back up these characteristics that you are declaring.